Hello and welcome, Nina. I am thrilled to chat with you today.
I am so delighted to be with you. I've known you for a long time.
It has been a while, and I'm so glad we were able to reconnect. And I
I
absolutely adore
know.
what you're doing now. I think so many women need to hear your message, and I can't wait to just dive into this conversation and hear about, how to have body peace.
Yeah.
How did you get
Yeah.
started, Nina? Tell me a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So body peace came about because I knew body war really well.
Hmm.
Oh, so well, right? I was on my first diet when I was 9, then decades and decades of this diet and that diet. Let me try again. And then let me feel like a failure after every single one. And well, maybe I'll start again on Monday. And then, oh, I failed by Thursday and I'll start tomorrow. No, that's never going to work. What's the latest greatest book that's out of some guy who's touting some new diet? Let me try that one. And so it was forever this chronic dieting, chronic uh, negative internal voice, and chronically feeling like I was never actually on my side.
Hmm.
Like I was actually never fully allying with myself. I
Mhm.
was never really at peace. It was a very aggressive relationship that I had going with myself. And then professionally, I started working with women years and years ago as a body worker. So my hands were on women's bodies all day, every day. And in that, I heard very similar stories. I heard women talking about how they felt in their body. I heard them talk about their trauma. I heard about what their mother thought about their bodies and how they had internalized that. So I heard body stories so much that I went to my supervisor, who was a social worker, and said, I feel like I'm doing therapy with people. And she said, You are. So I went back to school and became a therapist. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm still struggling with this food thing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school in nutrition. I'm going
Hmm.
to learn exactly what to eat and what not to eat. And then I'm going to have this problem solved. But of course, that's not the answer either. So, all my work of really deeply diving into embodiment, into our mindset, into our emotions, and into how we eat, why we eat, the psychology of eating, all of that got wrapped together into what I call the nourishment dynamic and became my work, body peace, which is how do we feel truly at home in our body? How do we feel truly at ease, like we're really on our side? And that's how the whole thing started, is because I knew the war.
Mm. Nina, oh my gosh, that is so profound. And I can totally relate to you. And I'm sure so many of our listeners can, because I know at age 10, my dad actually paid me
Mhm.
to lose weight. And my
Me
brother, we were
too.
getting to be a little pudgy. And I think it was just, it's where we were as a society, it's where we were as a generation. This was back
Mhm.
in the 70s where
Yeah.
Battle of the Bulge, it was just a common
Hmm.
thing. And I think toxic diet culture just became the norm.
Oh my gosh, what you're saying, that it is the norm is so important because it reminds us, it tells us that we have accepted this war. We've accepted that our body is fundamentally faulty, right? When your dad says, and it really breaks my heart when you said your dad paid you to lose weight,
Mhm.
right there is a message. Oh my gosh, your body is wrong.
Mhm.
Here, let's fix it. And you know what? It's your problem to fix it.
Mhm.
And I'm going to actually monetize that,
Mhm.
that you, if you fix it, you've succeeded, you get money. And that is exactly what our culture taught us. If our bodies were small, then we will make money, then we will be successful, then we will get love, then we win. Right? If you have a small body, you get to walk into a room, you get to be the smallest, and you win. What do we win?
Mhm.
Right? This ridiculous idea of this is what's acceptable as a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's just
It
insidious.
is.
But I think a lot of it, I mean, where do you think this all started? I kind of
Mm.
marketing, but tell me, I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah. So there's a lot of history around our fat phobia in our culture. Some of it is tied to racism,
Mm,
right? When the culture was, oh, let's lift up white skin.
mhm,
Well, a lot of people in black skin or any color skin that wasn't white had different body types. So
mm,
let's vilify that body type. So that's one strain of how we developed fat phobia is it's tied with racism.
mm,
Another one is it got tied in with the medical establishment and, of course, making money. So
mm.
the BMI that everybody's all worried about, body mass index, right? Where did that come from? It came actually from a statistician who was creating metrics for an insurance company, not having to do with health,
Wow.
not having to do with health. But then
Mhm,
the doctors took it and
mhm,
at the same time, scales were being sold, right? Before scales were like at a fair,
mhm,
at some carnival, and you paid a penny and you got on it. It wasn't in the doctor's office.
mm,
So, but then, oh no, what? We can sell scales and attach it to BMI and attach worth. So then that added,
mhm,
right? So compound that. Then you add the Industrial Revolution,
mhm,
right? Before that, clothes, this gets into your world, right? Clothes fit the people.
mhm,
And then we had factories and we were mass producing clothing.
mhm,
So it wasn't that you had a tailor that went, this is your measurements. I will make a dress that fits your body. It was no, here's a factory. We're making a oodles of this particular dress, and we're going to give them numeric classification,
mhm,
sizes.
mhm,
And from those sizes, now you, as a human being, as a woman, need to fit into one of those sizes,
mm,
right? So now suddenly clothes no longer fit us. We're supposed to conform to size. Okay, now add on a diet industry that goes, oh, you can't fit into the size 6?
mhm,
Let me help you. Here's the product. And
mhm.
so now we have a $72 billion diet industry,
Yeah.
right? So it's such a great question that you ask because it really is all these different factors that have made this fat phobia,
Mhm,
sizeism,
mhm.
be part of how we see ourselves and
Yeah.
destroy ourselves.
Destroy. Oh my gosh, that's such a, I hate to say it's a great word. It's such a descriptive word. It's such a sad,
Mm-hmm.
sad
It
word.
is.
But what I see, I think being in the fashion industry, I hear so many women come to me and say, "Oh, I've gained 10 pounds or 20 pounds, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not at my ideal weight," as if like there's something fundamentally flawed. Like
Yes.
they're just not good. I'm not
Yes.
good anymore because I'm overweight.
Oh my gosh. Those words, flawed, not good, right? Not enough. I always hear a lot, oh, I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
That somehow I'm broken. There's
Right.
something wrong with me. Ouch. If we can just pause right there and go,
Mm.
ow, that's heartbreaking because we wouldn't look at a child and go, wow, you're really broken. Your body's not quite right. We
No.
wouldn't do that. And yet women do it on the daily when they
On
look at themselves in the mirror or when they open their closet.
Mhm. And then, I think subliminally we do it to each other. They're
Mm-hmm.
not always meaning to, but,
Yeah.
people will make comments, or maybe I've heard stories of women walking into stores and the store clerk coming outside of the store to meet them to say, "Can we help you? We don't
Oh,
have your size here."
oh,
As if
oh,
to say, like, "You're not good enough to shop here."
right,
And I
right.
I had an experience. I was probably a size 12. It was shortly after had had my first child, was not back to my, you know, regular weight. But I walked into a boutique and this man who owned it told me, "Oh, we don't have your size." They only went up to a size 8 for whatever
Wow.
reason. I'm like, first of all, the choice to only go up to a size 8, that would only
Right.
be owned by a man, in my opinion.
Yes.
In my opinion, but I mean, could
Yes.
be wrong, but it's just crazy to me. And I understand, as a boutique owner, you can't be all things to all people.
Mm-hmm.
However, the lines that you choose to carry, most of them go up to, at least a 12.
Mm-hmm.
Days it's more like a 14, a 16. They're adding in these additional sizes and becoming a little bit more inclusive.
Right. And exactly your story about coming to a store and being stopped,
Mhm.
that's exclusivity. You don't belong here.
Mhm.
And we, hopefully, as a world, are starting to grow into inclusivity.
Yeah.
Right? We are looking at our problematic history with excluding people of different colors, of different religions, of different backgrounds, of different classes. And we are looking at that as a problem, but we still have yet to really look at sizeism as a
Mhm.
problem. It's
Mhm.
still acceptable to have a store that's like, oh, no, sorry, you don't belong here.
Mhm.
And what happens in that is, again, we go back to, oh, I must be the problem and I have to fix myself. And the thing that I want, like, every woman to know is you are not the problem. Like, our culture, our upbringing, our brainwashing, frankly,
Mm. Yeah.
is the problem, and the constant noise from our culture that our body is not enough. And it
Yeah.
comes in different waves of all kinds, right? Right now, the flavor of the year is GLP-1 drugs, right? The Ozempics, the Wegovy's, right? That's the new wave. Like, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you making your body thinner?
Mhm.
As though there's a requirement
Mhm.
to have a small body. There is no requirement. We come in all shapes and sizes, and that is a really wonderful thing. The only problem with that is that we don't think it's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know where, I mean, certainly everything you talked about, but it's like, how did we, how did we women come to embrace
Mm-hmm.
the thought? Because I certainly have been at that place where, oh, if I, show up at the family reunion and I've lost 10 pounds, like I
Mm-hmm.
win. It's that
Mm-hmm.
insidious mind game that just, it's madness.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot around women and social currency,
Mm,
right? So
yeah.
we've brought up that our social currency is our appearance. It's our size, it's our clothing, it's our handbag, it's the kind of shoes we wear,
Mm,
it's the color of our hair, it's how we're coiffed, right? Our culture has made our value be our look, our beauty. And
mhm.
if we don't rise to a certain ridiculously unrealistic postage stamp size kind of cultural idealized beauty, then we don't have currency,
Mm,
right? I know for myself, I used to walk, I was like the queen of compare and despair. I'd walk into a room and I would look around and compare. And it was brutal. It
mm,
was absolutely brutal because what was I looking for? I was looking for a sense of, am I valuable? Am I worthy?
yes.
Right? I would go and um, I don't know if you're willing, but I have I write body piece poems, and I
Uh-huh.
actually have a poem about this actual thing. And I'm wondering if I can share it with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, because what I would do is walk into these places and go, am I bigger than her? As though it was a contest,
Mhm.
as though if
Same.
she was right, if I was smaller, then like we've been talking about, I win or I have the social currency. So, this poem is called, Am I Bigger Than Her?
Mm,
Am I bigger than her? I ask my husband as a woman passes on the street. Am I bigger than her? I ask myself as I walk into the room, measuring up all the women. Am I bigger than her? I look at a picture of younger me, a memory on Facebook from years ago. Am I bigger than her? I am asking, am I less attractive, less powerful, less likable, less worthy than her? Comparing myself to her size and her size. If I'm bigger than her, then I'm less than her. If I'm smaller than her, then I'm more than her. And her size and her size and her size. My self worth going up and down with each comparison, scoring points in a game against myself. There's always someone bigger and always someone smaller. There's no winning this game. It's just reducing women to their size.
Mm.
Aren't we bigger than that?
Mm. Bravo, Nina. That gave
And
me.
that's the, yeah. And that's the pain of it, right?
Mm-hmm. That is, I think you just read the minds of so many women on this planet. So, my next question, how do we come to feel at home in our own bodies?
Yeah. So it's one of my favorite phrases, actually, feeling at home in our bodies. I grew up in Montreal. I live in Boston now, but I grew up in Montreal, and there's a French saying, "Je me sens bien dans ma peau." I feel good in my skin. And I had no clue what the heck that meant. Not that I didn't understand the language, because I did. It was, I just didn't know what that felt like. What does it feel like
Mhm.
to feel at home? So, actually, before we even get into it, if I put it back to you, when you say, like I say to you, okay, what does it mean to you to feel at home in your body? What comes up? What's like the first thing?
Yeah, well, I think for me, feeling, I don't know, I'm not even sure how to put it into words. I think a lot of it, whether it's with clothes or without clothes, but I think with clothes, it's wearing something that makes me feel that connects the inner to the outer. When
Mm,
I look in the mirror, who I see in the mirror is who I know myself to be. And it's not about a
yes.
weight or an age or a size. It's just like,
Yes.
yeah, like the way I mix color or the way I cut my hair, did my makeup or did my jewelry, or it's like that is what I see in the mirror is the expression of how I feel and who
So,
I want the world to see or what I want the world to
oh,
see.
it's so magnificent. I love, love, love your description. And what you're talking about is an authentic relationship with yourself.
Yes.
Who I see in the mirror is who I am. I am in true, authentic, honest relationship with myself, and I am valuing myself. And that's the answer. How do we create body peace? We create a relationship with ourselves,
Mm,
right? What is body peace? It's actually an active practice of being in a listening, caring, responsive, supportive, respectful, honoring relationship with yourself.
mm,
And that's what you so beautiful. I loved how you said, like, I look in the mirror and there I am. That's how we want to feel. We
mhm,
don't want to feel like, ugh, that,
mm,
me, oh, what am I going to do about that? Like, that's not it. Because we know and we treat, I know, like I've worked with women for 30 years. I know women are like hearts of gold that see the beauty in everybody. And the way we look at someone else is we see their magnificence.
yes.
And that's what we want with ourselves. We
Yeah.
want to see our magnificence. And so when we're developing body peace, we're developing is a really connected relationship with ourself, our hunger, our appearance, all of the aspects of us.
Well said. So I think it can be really tricky though, because what you said is an authentic relationship. And I really think what I hear and what I've experienced over the years with midlife women is that we look in the mirror and maybe our hair's gone gray, or we see a
Mm-hmm.
few more wrinkles. We're not quite
Mm-hmm.
recognizing the
Yes.
person in the mirror. And it's like, our hormones are shifting and
Yeah.
it's like all these moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
Be really tricky just to even recognize ourselves in the mirror, much less have that authentic relationship. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, who's that? I've got to go. I've got to go pick up the kids or take care of my mother or go to a doctor's appointment or get to work. It's like that I don't have time to stop and really ground myself in who I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just on to the next thing. I'm just going to throw on my schlumpy, dumpy clothes, grab a cheeseburger from the drive-through and hate myself later. But so how do we start?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack in
How
what
do
you
we
just said.
unpack all this?
Right. The first thing I want to unpack is something you said that was so right on the money, which is that as we age, we are changing.
Mhm.
Now, we've always changed, right? One of the things I do in my workshops with women is let's go through your life from 0 to 5. What was your body like? 5 to 10, 10 to 15, all the way through their whole lives. And
Mhm.
then I say, okay, when you look back at this list, what do you see? And everybody says, my body was always changing. What does our culture say? Always stay the same, right? Especially now, you hit 50 and now we're on rapid fire change. It is
Put it bluntly,
truly
yes.
rapid fire change. It is remarkable. Like I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, what the wasn't there yesterday, right? And so it's continually updating our relationship with our body. It's what I call being body current.
Body
Being
curl.
body current is really important because we all have this relationship. Well, I used to look like, and when I fit into those skinny jeans, and we're all past tense, right? Or we're all future tense. For the wedding in the summer, I'm going to lose pounds. For the when I, when the kids graduate from whatever, then I'm going to get my right past, future.
Mhm.
That's not being body current. How do we take care of our current body if we're talking about the past or if we're talking about the future? So I teach a class, Body, Peace, and Aging. And one of the things that we're working on a lot is how do we be in relationship with a changing body, a body that we may not recognize, and
Mhm.
a body that is kind of like, wait, what? My knee did what was that click? Wait, I turned and then my back went, eek. Wait, that didn't happen before, right? It's full of surprises right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
As we age, there's a lot of surprises. And how do we stay current? How do we stay caring? And at the same time, and this is really important, feel the grief
Mhm.
of a body that we used to have. That
Mhm.
was fun, right?
Mhm.
I had a body that I was absolutely fearless. I would run, we have a lot of stairs in our house. I would run down those stairs. And now I'm like, if I'm holding a teacup, I'm holding something, I'm like walking, looking exactly where my feet are going.
Mhm.
Not because I can't do stairs, but I'm also aware if I fell, wow, that's a bigger deal at this age
Mhm.
than when I was 35 and we bought this house
Yes,
versus 60,
yeah,
right? It's different.
it is.
And to stay current and connected and caring takes practice. And that's the practice of body peace.
Hmm. Yeah, love that. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I see in women is when they tell me I've gained weight or this, it's
Mm-hmm.
this feeling, and so many women say this to me, and I've experienced this myself. If I could just get back to the size I was in
Yeah.
college, the size I was when I got married, the
Oh.
size I was a month ago, the size I was 3 years ago before I got
Mm-hmm.
sick, if I could just get back to, and I talk about what I call the cycle of style, which, really
Mm-hmm.
incorporates so many other elements. But it's like you're even if you get back to that weight, your body's not going to be the you're going to carry it differently, right? Like maybe you're
Totally.
more in the bust, or your bum has expanded a little bit, or your arms are a
Yep.
little bit more jiggly than they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Your weight could be the same, but
Yes.
and I totally agree. Like, when you're 5, 6, when you're a toddler, you're expected to change.
Yeah.
When you're a baby, you're expected to change. But for some reason, we get it in our heads that once we hit our 20s, we're done. And I think this is where we get it wrong. It's like we're done. And if I don't like the way I look now, I'm going to look back to where I was in my,
Yeah.
20s, maybe early 30s, like before kids, before life. That's where I need to get back to. But it's this false sense of it's not being in touch with reality.
No, it's not being current. It's not being in our now.
Mm,
And we want to be in our now, right? When we're with our kids or grandkids or anybody younger, we say to them, what's going on for you now? Because we assume that things have changed, that they are evolving as a human being. This midlife and aging time of our life is so powerful. There is so much to claim here in terms of how we are changing because we have experience. We've lived on this planet for a decade or two. We know a thing or two, and to take that wisdom and turn it towards ourselves, not
mm,
just when we're sitting with a dear friend and we can give them the perspective of loss and we can give them the perspective of changes in life, but with ourselves and with our body. It's having that deeply compassionate relationship
mm,
with ourselves that needs to change. And it takes time, because literally there was a client I was working with, and we were getting into sort of what was her relationship like with her body, her life, and throughout her life. And we started talking about it. And she finally goes, oh my gosh, I've been in an abusive relationship
ooh,
with my body my whole life.
mm,
She said, I wouldn't stand for this kind of abuse from anyone else. I
mhm,
wouldn't. She said, I would tell them, don't treat me that way. I deserve better. And I would walk away.
mm,
But we take it from ourselves
mhm,
and we don't get to walk away.
mhm,
So just like if you're in a marriage that you want to keep, but things are not going so well, sometimes you got to go to therapy and work it out. Like literally when I'm sitting on a plane and someone says, Nina, what do you do? And I'm like, if I said I'm a body peace coach, it would go right over their head. So I say I'm a therapist and I work with couples, but not a woman and her partner. I work with a woman and her relationship with her own body,
mm.
because that's the therapy, that's the healing, that's where the work needs to happen so that we can stand in front of the mirror and go, hey, just like you said, oh, there I am.
Yes. One word that comes to mind is the P word. I like to call permission. That's the P word
Mm,
in my world, permission.
yeah.
And that's a word that comes up for me when thinking about being body current.
Mm,
Because what I hear from so many women, it's almost like they need permission to embrace who they are now, to
mm-hmm,
not feel like they should. It's almost a should.
mm-hmm,
Well, I should look the same way I did
mm-hmm.
20. I should, it's the voice from their parents when they were kids. It's what they heard, the teasing they got from the classmates, or it's what they came to believe. And it's almost like we need permission to let all that go
Yeah, yeah.
because I think it's such a societal construct now. It's that you must be thin, right? You can never be too thin or too rich, right? So many people,
Gosh,
when I grew
so
up,
painful.
that
Yeah.
was the plaque that was on so many walls, and
I know.
families' homes, or just kind of like the tagline. That was probably, I would say that was one of the taglines of my childhood. You can never be too thin or too rich.
So painful, right? So
Yeah.
horrible and so diminishing of value, of our value.
So, but I think getting back to permission, how do
Mhm,
we encourage more women to give themselves permission
mhm.
to step into a place of being body current
Yeah,
and having that authentic relationship?
yeah. And part of that is the work of looking at our past and going, what were the rules that we didn't even realize we were living by? And then doing the work of creating what we actually want,
Mm,
stepping into how do we want, what's the permission we would give somebody else. And the other piece, when you say permission, because I'm coming from all this from a body and food perspective,
mhm,
is one of the things I work with women is full permission to eat, right? There's so much restriction. Oh no, I can't eat that. Mm-mm, that's bad. That's good. If I eat the bad, then I'm bad. If I eat the good, then I'm good. Like it just gets the permission. There's no permission. So
mhm,
tight.
mhm,
And so with that tightness, then suddenly people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. I was at the party, then I came back, then I ate everything in sight.
Mm,
because I had no permission. I was in restriction. And then now I'm letting myself go. I'm giving myself permission.
mm,
But what if we actually gave ourselves permission? I want to eat that. And then, and give ourselves permission to have desire, which in our generation of women was really downplayed. Oh, if you have desire, either you're being too ambitious, or you're being kind of slutty,
mm,
or you're being too pushy, right? You're being bitchy, right? All of those things about being assertive in any way was diminished
mm,
if we had our desires. So to say, yeah, I do have desires. I have a desire to feel at ease in my body. I have a desire to eat that cake. I have a desire to speak my mind. I have a desire to wear hats every day. I have desires. I don't have to conform. And that is one of the gifts of aging,
mhm.
is we can let go of conformity
Right. I
if
love
we do the work, if we do the work.
Mm, yes, so true. Nina, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? This has been so powerful and just so
Hmm.
profound. And I just think you are so full of incredible wisdom.
Oh, thank you
How,
so
how
much. I'm
can our
honored.
listeners find out more about you?
Yeah. So I want to answer the first question first. Is there anything else I want people to know? I do. I really want women to know who are struggling that you don't have to feel that way.
Mm,
You really don't. I literally was bored with the thoughts in my head because I was thinking about what I just ate all the time. We have a bigger purpose here. And as women in midlife and aging, our purpose is very clear to us. So if we can clear the decks of all the noise of our hate, our own self hate,
mhm.
we're able to do what we're meant to do, right? You're here helping women feel fabulous, right? I'm here helping women feel at ease in their body. Like, we get to do it full out when
Yeah.
we stop the doubting. So that's what I really want to say. It doesn't have to be this way,
Mm,
it can change. So, how people can get to know me and get started on this work, one of the most powerful ways is to pick up my Practicing Body Peace journal on my website. It's 20 questions that I would ask you if you were sitting in a session with me about the relationship that you have with your current body and
mm,
about what you want. So it's a really clarifying bunch of journal questions. And in there are some body peace poems also to give you a little inspiration. So that you can find for free on my website, ninamanolson.com, or bodypeacewithnina.com, goes to the same place. And it will get you rolling on looking at how you feel about yourself as the relationship that it is. And as a relationship, like most relationships in your life, it can get better.
yes, I love that. Nina, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. And
Totally my privilege.
I just, everything you said, spot on, spot on. So go
Hmm.
get Nina's journal, start practicing being body current and body acceptance, and see what magic can happen.
Love it.
Thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oops.